Alright, this is for Sarah Divino. Oh, Jesus Christ. Wait, I didn't even know. What do you normally say?
And welcome to Sarah Divino.
Hey there everyone, I'm Jerry Fleming.
I'm Grant Butrago.
And this is Sarah Divino.
And these are the 5 S's.
So, getting right into it, Grant, we have not done a video in quite some time, but we're coming back super strong. We've educated ourselves and we want to educate all of you as well now. So we're doing our first educational video we're so excited about.
Exactly, yeah. Today we're going to get to talk about the 5 S's that you hear us mentioning all the time. So we get to describe to you a little bit of how to do each one, then also like what it means when tasting a wine.
Yeah, different varieties too, because the 5 S's don't apply the same like rules depending on what situation you're in or who's tasting it, who wants the 5 S's, right?
Exactly.
So first S we're going into right away is the see it. So what do we got here for the see it? When we look at a wine here, what are we looking for?
So a couple things that we're looking for: the color of the wine. Most obviously, the vibrancy of the wine indicates the taste and how tasty it is going to be. So it's just like something to keep an eye out for, along with like the edges and everything.
Yeah. So when we're looking at the edge of the wine, like what is it? We're looking for different types of coloration, right?
Exactly. So yeah, and like we were talking about a second ago with the edges, the browning along the edges kind of indicates an oak barreling, and it can also show the age of the wine.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you got like pink or purple, it also indicates a little bit of more youth in the wine. There's not so much age, it's a more new world wine. So the brightness has that bright, fruity flavor. And then what is it for the old world?
It's a darker, more like bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you take a look at this wine that we have today, the 2017 Robert Mondavi, the coloring is a little bit lighter, so that kind of indicates that it is a newer world wine. It's a little bit more on the fruity side.
Yeah.
A little bit lighter than the dark wines.
Exactly. So let's take a little bit closer look at what we got here. So we have just those edges right here. Like he said, is a little bit lighter, more clarity to it. So like I said, I totally agree with him on that. That's a more newer. It's definitely not age. It's the lighter, pinker, prettier, I would say, than the old muddy brown look that you get from an old world or like an aged one.
Yeah.
Specifically, what kind of it was like aging process? It was an oak, right?
Yeah, oak barrels tend to have like that darker coloring to it.
So any oak aging, so even like a oak chipped fermentation, which we talked about in a couple other videos as well, where they just throw oak chips into a steel vat and like get that little bit of aging.
Yeah, so an easy way to remember that is just the brown of the oak shows in the wine. The easiest way to think about it.
Right, it's very natural in that way.
Yeah, it also has a lot to do with like the younger and older. Typically older, you think of like a darker color to it, newer, brighter. So that's just an easy thing to keep in mind so you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So also like when you are getting your wine and looking at it, very important when you open it, you want to look at the cork as well. So you want to make sure that it has absolutely no sort of like, I don't know, chips out of it or anything like that. Otherwise you're guaranteed to have not guaranteed to have spoiled wine, but it's going to be corked. And you're going to have to definitely filter it. Thank God we have our good old friend Venturi, which we're going to be using to pour personal glasses of wine.
As always.
Yeah, it's a great for any aeration if you're on the go or anything like that. Don't have a canteen, don't have time. Perfect for that type of situation. We have all the time in the world, so we're just going to enjoy it fresh.
Yeah.
So like I said with the cork process, we're going to be just making sure that it doesn't have the dents or anything like that in there as well. And then it tells us also like if there's how old it is from the sugar crystals, if there are any in here. So I'm going to show one of us right here.
A brand new close-up camera.
Right. Boom. So there's no sugar crystals on this one. None like that. But it is very pretty. It's like just pink. So it's going to be perfect for ready for a pour. No corking.
Perfect wine for drinking.
Awesome. So like look, after we see it I think we're ready to go into our next one. Actually, before we move on, we want to make sure you're pouring the right amount of wine when you're looking to taste it. So, like when people normally are wanting to taste wine, they pour a normal glass of wine, and when they want a normal glass of wine, they're pouring like half the bottle inside of their glass. So we want to educate everyone on what the
correct way. Yeah, the correct amount. You don't want to pour too much and have wine spilling over the side. So this is actually one of the more undervalued aspects of wine, is trying to figure out how much wine you want to put in there. So yeah, Jerry, why don't you show us the correct amount to pour in a glass of wine?
All right, so 2 fingers is all you need to know. All right, so you go 1 finger for a tasting amount. So with this one, it's real easy. All you gotta do is look at how much you have here. So you want only just 1 finger amount, just to cover from the bottom to the top. That's all for a tasting amount. That is like literally like just like a shot and a half.
Just enough to know what you're tasting.
When you want to pour a serious glass, you pour 2. Notice how it is just below the rim, right there. You can easily see where you can pour right below the rim of the glass, or the bulge of the rim of the glass, you know, type thing.
Yeah, so why is that important, Jerry, to pour it below the bulge?
Well, it's very important for our next process, one of our next processes for our pre-tasting. So, we didn't even get into what video this is actually.
Yeah, this is our
pre-tasting.
Yeah, so yeah, this is gonna be a 2-part video. We have the pre-tasting, anything we do before we actually taste the wine, and the second half is gonna be after tasting it, how do we interpret it, and how does that kind of relay into the rest of the process. So yeah, this is our first part.
Yep, so for our gift to you for the holidays is a 2-part educational video. So I hope you appreciate it. Our families have been bugging us to make videos for quite some time, and I know my friends are hounding me about it all the time too, so I'm really excited to finally give them this.
Yeah, and hopefully now you guys can really see what goes into the process of tasting wine.
Yeah, so the swirl it process, so let's get into that one now. We're just blending right in. I love it. So basically, it's super important to just pour it just below, like you see right here. I think it's like almost perfectly level so you can see it. It's just boom, look at that. All you gotta do, go like that. You can do it super aggressive too.
Yeah, and that's where the importance of pouring the right amount comes in, because I mean, he's whipping that glass around and nothing's coming out. There's no chance of it coming out.
I'm really trying, but that is also a very proper technique for us to demonstrate to you as well. We have to know that when you swirl it like that, it has to be like just flat on the table. You can't let it come up and be like, you know, trying to do a kickflip like at the tech deck or something.
Yeah, and especially with red wine. Definitely don't want to mess that one up. So.
Yeah, especially if you have something white on or anything like that. Embarrass yourself a little bit if you trip over at a party, right?
Yeah. Right.
All right, so, So basically when you're swirling it too, it's very, you know, very bougie, it seems like, when you're swirling it at a party or something like that and you have a glass of wine. But
right, you need to keep your pinky in the air.
Exactly. So also it's very important to know where to hold it for the swirling.
Exactly, yeah, depending on the wine, you want to hold it either from the stem or from the base of the glass. Typically with red wines, it's okay to hold it from the base, and then for white wines, you want to hold the stem, because that affects, like, obviously the temperature. But with white wines, you tend to drink it more chilled, so by holding it from the base, it warms it up, which is not what you're looking for.
Also, sparkling wines, they actually tend to lose their carbonation a little bit quicker if you are heating them up. I don't know, like for sodas, pretty much like the same exact thing. If it's hot, it's gonna like,
yeah, it gets flat, right?
Yeah. So it's really nice to just like keep it chilled, or if it's too cold for a white wine, to some people tend to keep it a little too cold sometimes, like where it's practically frozen. So sometimes it's nice just to put your hand on it. Yeah. So like little tricks to help you in case you happen to be in a situation where your wine's a little too cold or, you know, too hot. So here we go. Legs are very important to notice while we're in our swirling technique right here. We want to know that how much sugar is in it. So, Grant, why don't you give us a little swirl? I've been touching the glass all day.
Yeah, so if you give it a little bit of swirl, and I take this over here, you can check out the, it's a little bit harder to see on camera, but there's a little bit of like a blurry coat that goes along the glass. So depending on how thick that coating is and how long it stays for, it tells you the sugar content as well as like the sweetness or dryness of the wine. Yeah. And so what are we looking for in that?
Basically, you're looking for like, what's it called? Also, there's a term called the crease and legs, right? So, what is it? The crease is where it's like the little dip in up top, where it's like acts like not the like long legs, yeah. But it's like you know, the crotch area, I guess, if you want to call it anything like that. Yeah. It's nice, a little crease. So what you're looking for is a thick like layer. So white wines typically have more sugar, so they're gonna be a lot more what is it? Visible. Yeah, they're gonna have some sweet visible legs. Sometimes they come out a little bit like discolored, like a little brownish, or not like super brown, but you can tell there's a little bit of more natural sugars like honey or brown sugar or anything like that in there. So those ones are typically really good. So when they're really chilled as well, they really stick a lot to the sides of the walls of wine. Right. Yeah. Like personally, I like to use that as kind of a basis to figure out which kind of wine I'm drinking. That can give you the idea of whether it's sweet or it's dry. So you can use that and combine that with the scent and the look of everything, and that'll give you a better hint as to what the wine will taste like. Absolutely. Okay, so moving on to the third section of our S trip is the smell it, which is definitely the most pretentious of the 5 S's, but it's the most important because it shows you exactly what you're going to get from the wine. You can get so many different hints of this and that really leads into the taste of it. And so yeah, so what are we looking for when we go in to smell the wine? So basically, when you're going to smell wine, you're trying to look for different dimensions of flavor, different sweetness. So you're trying to look for either whether it's going to make your nose hairs curl a little bit, it's going to be a little bit warmer, more acidic, right? And then if you like are going for like a little bit more refreshing wine, like a white wine or a rosé or something a little more fruity, it's going to be a little more pleasant on your nose. So it's going to be sweeter. It's going to be a little bit more refreshing when you taste. So there's a couple things you can tell us right there. Yeah, it's pretty easy to identify because the bitterness of that scent leads into the bitterness of the wine. Yeah. So yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, or keep a nose on, I guess you could say. And I think it was 90% of like nasal, 90% of the wine taste can be detected through the olfactory glands. Exactly. So it's like, I think that's what I found out. Don't quote me on that one. But I'm pretty sure that's exactly it is, and I've heard 80% of taste is smell, so like, or vice versa, or something like that. So yeah, exactly. It's like if you try to eat food without smelling it, it doesn't taste like anything. It's the same thing with wine. That's why it's so important to do the whole smelling technique, even though it is incredibly pretentious looking. So also, when you're smelling, let's go over the technique that some people like to use, some people don't, for smelling it. So, do you want to give us one little smell right here? We'll compare us. All right, so my man here just demonstrated a perfect smelling technique with an open mouth. So that's exactly what you would like to do. So when you smell it like that, it literally just allows all the oxygen to come from your nose, through your throat, and allows some of it to come through your, airway in your mouth. So it bathes your, taste buds just a little bit, just enough to get a little light taste and ease you into it. Yeah, it hits all of your sinuses, so you can really get the most out of that smell. Yeah. It's not just staying in one section. Yeah, and then he did a great way. Like, you're supposed to just put your nose directly in there, slowly bring it out until you get to that perfect point, and just not like snorting it like a crazy man. Like you just take it nice and easy. Yeah, right. So it should almost be awkwardly close to the wine, because you really want to get as far into the center of that wine as you can and slowly pull your way out of it. Less Charlie Sheen, more yoga master. Exactly. So, that, like we said with identifying all the flavors of the wine and anything, what would that be called though? There's a term for that, right? Yeah, it's actually called the bouquet. So the bouquet is used to describe the full-bodiedness of the wine. So that's including the scent, the sight, and the legs and everything. So the bouquet can also be used to figure out what the taste of the wine is going to be like. So let's try this. Try smelling this wine and tell us what you think about it. Absolutely. What scents you get. Yeah, so for this Robert Mondavi, we've actually done a video on this one before, so be sure to check that one out, and then we can compare it with our tasting this time. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of like a raspberry flavor for me. Like it's like fruity, a little bit, yeah, like a little bit sweeter. That's what I got from it. Yeah, like a little tart raspberry, sweet, definitely that red fruit flavor is in there. It's really good. Oh, and now that the wine is, I think, a little bit more heated, I'm getting legs on it now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's
Yeah,
go
just
back
because
to
of the
that.
hobbies. Yeah, if you just swirl it around and put it in front of the camera, that we could take a look at it.
Absolutely. So give it a nice little swirl. It's heated up a little bit, I think, in the day here at San Diego, and also
Yeah, that's holding it and moving it around.
yeah. So boom. I don't know if you can see. I can see a little bit of discoloration around Manny's face, right? Alrighty. Yeah, it's just
There
like,
you go. Yeah, moving in front of the of Manny.
yeah, right.
Just
Just
so
like,
you could tell.
yeah, there's just a little bit there. It's nice.
Yeah, so there's not a whole lot of legs, which of course has to do with the temperature, but also just the overall sweetness of the wine is not going to be too sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really nice, actually. I'm looking forward to try this one. We have a little bit of meat to go with that, so it should go hand in hand. And what is it? So with that smelling technique, it always is nice to, you know, just go back to it real quick. Just demonstrate when you put it directly in there. Right, just take it out slowly and keep in the center. Oh,
They tried again.
let me, yeah, I was so quiet.
So when you're tasting the wine, you want to make sure that you are just shoving your nose directly into the center of that glass. And since we're both like using this glass, I don't want to top while we're right here next to the glass. So you put it right there, just shove it right inside there in the center of the glass and slowly pull away until you hit that sweet spot like we just talked about. There's that
it's
nice sweet spot where you get oxygen and flavor from the wine, and it makes this perfectly where you're able to detect everything.
Exactly, the full scent of the wine really comes out, and the importance of that is getting that center of the glass too, because that's where all the scent. The glass is designed to push those scents to the center of the glass.
Yep, and like what is it though, when you swish it around, or swirl it around, you literally release all the tannins, aromatics, and everything like that, and reds have a lot of aromatics in it because the tannins come from grapes and stems, the grape skins and the stems, so it has a lot in there. They don't remove those for the red wines, which gives it the color.
Yeah, that is something I did want to touch on, was the swirling and moving it around and everything that we've been doing. It also allows the wine to aerate a bit, which brings out those flavors that we've been talking about.
So, I think that pretty much concludes our pre-tasting part, doesn't it?
Yeah, all the pre-wine tasting has been done, so now we get to the fun part.